Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Here's High Blackboard. This time we're tackling Pat's Pawn Chimps. Now, believe it or not, this is actually the second to last episode of the kind of advanced maps. Once I finish up Geared, we're going to be moving on to the expert maps, so those should be fun. Anyways, Pat's Pawn. Pat's Pawn is a kind of interesting map. The kind of main gimmick here is that it's kind of a two-lane map, split between top and bottom, as you can see here. And the main difficulty, in my opinion, is the fact that no matter which side you put your defense on, although you're going to want to put your defense on the right, but anyways, like no matter what side you put your defense on, you kind of have to pop balloons immediately. There's not really kind of a whole lot of space to kind of be able to do so, so you are kind of forced to have some very high just DPS to pop balloons kind of as soon as possible. Now, some of you may have noticed that this is post-commentary just because I did this run at like 2 in the morning. I couldn't really go to sleep, so I was just like, you know what, I'll just, knock out Pat's Pawn Chimps and then hopefully go back to bed. So yeah, I did this pretty early in the morning. Now the strategy I'm going for here is going to be mainly water, because water towers are pretty strong on this map. Although you're mainly going to be using boats. Submarine I feel like could maybe be used with preemptive or energizer, but I digress. Anyways, kind of main defense we're going to be going for here is Pirate Lord into Spirit of the Forest. My original strategy was going to be Pirate Lord and Carrier Flagship. The only issue with Carrier Flagship is that, after the nerfs, it not being able to hit lead anymore, that actually ended up being a huge problem when it came to DDTs, and it basically kind of forced me to go for Glue Storm afterwards, or like some sort of D-lead like Embreadment, although I feel like Glue Storm would probably be a little bit better because of its global range. But yeah, that whole not being able to hit leads anymore came to be a pretty big issue in rounds 95, 93, especially 99, so I kind of scrapped that idea. And not to mention that if I go for Pirate Lord and Carrier Flagship, that doesn't really leave me a lot of money for kind of ceramic cleanup. And not to mention that Carrier Flagship is kind of RNG dependent, just due to the fact that the planes, it really just depends on how the planes are feeling. The planes could be in a good spot and end up sniping ceramics, but they could also be in a bad spot and end up kind of whiffing. Also, Psy is my choice of hero just because Psy is going to be pretty powerful come late game. Because it's an advanced map, Psy does level up pretty quickly, so I can utilize their being able to destroy BFBs and MOABs late game. That comes in handy, especially rounds 98. Psionic Scream is pretty powerful that round. If you do get, I believe it's level 17 or 16 when Psy is able to destroy MOABs. But anyways, yeah. I originally was going to use Brickle. The only issue with kind of Brickle is that, Brickle doesn't really help out too much with 98. This isn't really a good map to kind of utilize Brickle's mines, in my opinion, so I figured that, it probably wasn't worth going for Brickle. I'd just choose a different hero, because Brickle's main power does come from her level 10 Mega Mines, and since I wasn't going to be able to really fully utilize that, I figured that it probably wasn't worth going for Brickle, so I looked through the heroes. I was debating, using Geraldo, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, how would I use Geraldo in combination with, Carrier Flagship and Pirate Lord? I couldn't think of a really good way to do so. So it's what, Psy is probably kind of my next best choice here. And I think Psy is kind of a really powerful hero overall. Don't really use them too often, but when I do, I'm always kind of pleasantly surprised. I'm going to speed up the early game just because it was kind of a standard start. It's really just air burst into cannon ship. I did have to buy triple guns for around 40. I did not do that with Brickle, but here I did have to because Psy can't really affect the MOAB anyway until a lot later on. But Psy being able to kind of shut down 3 out of the 4 ceramics is pretty strong still, so I guess there's that going for them. Alright, so with round 40 done, it's just kind of rush Pirate Lord kind of as soon as possible. So as soon as we're done getting kind of our supporting stuff, 220 Village, as well as Shoot of the Jungle we're going to get, it is straight to a Pirate Lord. And as you can kind of see here, money is very tight. I did want to afford Pirate Lord before round 63 because I couldn't really think of any way to do so without Pirate Lord or spending way too much money to where I'd have to delay Spirit of the Forest too long and dying later on. So the main kind of struggle for me here was just penny pinching enough to be able to afford Pirate Lord for round 63. When I was going for Carrier Flagship and Pirate Lord, I didn't have to worry about affording Pirate Lord in time for 63. Because Monkey Pirates and Aircraft Carrier could handle 63, no problem, just fine. There was no issue with that round, but you know, with some more testing and I switched out Brickle for Psy and other stuff, I couldn't actually beat round 63 without Power Lord, so I was really just kind of figuring out how am I going to be able to afford Power Lord kind of as soon as I can. Alright, so skipping ahead yet again to kind of round 60, here is where you're going to have to use Psy abilities here quite a bit. Round 61 is doable, although it is scary, a lot of zeros this round, which the bombs of Monkey Pirates, I don't think they can hit Black Balloon, so we are kind of struggling into that. As you can see, we are like almost dying to yellows. Thankfully, Psy and Druid can kind of clutch up. Use Psionic Scream there because I was feeling kind of a little bit scared and uncomfortable. I didn't really mind doing that just because we'll have Power Lord up for like the middle of 62 anyways. You know, as you can see, like, you know, we are very cutting it close to not being able to afford Power Lord for 63. So penny pinching was pretty, I guess, crucial here. That's why I didn't really go for any discount villages, because there was never really a point in time where I just felt solid and comfortable enough to be able to reasonably afford discount villages. So I just decided, like, you know, just cut them out, not really kind of worth going for. It wasn't like I was like strapped for cash for this run anyways. Like, you know, once we get to like, you know, late game, well, money isn't really too much of an issue as it kind of is for early game. So anyways, now that we got Power Lord, it really is just kind of a free save up all the way until Spirit of the Forest. We'll be able to afford Spirit of the Forest, like, you know, at the very beginning of round 81. Not really in time for Super Ceramics, but that's okay, as Power Lord on this map can handle round 81, like, you know, by itself just fine. So anyways, I'm going to speed up the save up into Spirit of the Forest as nothing really much happened here. So I kind of want to talk about how I kind of came up with the strategy. I touched on it kind of a little bit earlier, but why did I choose Spirit of the Forest? Well, I don't really kind of use Spirit of the Forest too often, so I decided, like, you know, spice things up, use a tier 5 I don't really use too often that I know is, like, you know, semi-decent. Also because, like, you know, Power Lord is still pretty good. You know, to, like, you know, various nerfs, it still isn't, like, too great against, like, Super Ceramics. It's alright, it can handle a couple of them, but, like, late game we're going to definitely need a lot more than Power Lord. And so I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I could use Balloon Solver. The only issue with that is Balloon Solver has limited range. I wanted something that has a bit longer range just in case something did actually slip by Balloon Solver. And so my next best option was, like, you know, Spirit of the Forest. I figured, why not? You know, Spirit of the Forest I don't really use too often, even though my most recent episode of Here's High Black Border Erosion did have me using Spirit of the Forest. But, like, outside, like, this episode and last one, I don't really kind of use Spirit of the Forest too often. Like, even though my preferred ceramic cleanup option is like really just like downdraft plus spike balls, this isn't really a good map for spike factories or helis, so I figure, like, you know, spike balls plus downdraft probably wouldn't really do too good here. As you can see, it's round 80 and we're like 1k away from Spirit of the Forest, so yeah, it's like you barely just afford it in time for the 80s. Thankfully, like, you know, round 81 isn't really too hard, and I think round 81 gives a lot of money in my opinion. So yeah, we're able to kind of afford it in the middle of 81. And it really is just kind of smooth sailing up until, like, you know, the 90s. I will say though, ZOMG rounds are a bit of a struggle. We don't really have a lot of ZOMG damage here, is something you'll kind of notice a lot later on. But thankfully, like, you know, we can't just hook in ZOMGs with Pirate Lord's ability. It's just kind of waiting for the cooldown to kind of come up is the worrisome part there. Anyways, after getting Spirit of the Forest, we just kind of go for straight support at this point. There's really kind of no other, I guess, DPS towers that I really want here. This is just what I'm gonna roll with here. And so, believe it or not, I actually didn't think I was going to finish this attempt. I thought I was going to have to make another one. You kind of saw a little bit earlier in the kind of previous fast forward section. I kind of briefly covered over Engineer to see how much, like, you know, overclock cost. I can't really remember the price off the top of my head. The reason why I did that is because I was originally planning on going for kind of Glue Storm. Just because I figured plus 2 damage I feel like would do pretty good. But I kind of wanted to skip out on that. I don't really kind of know why, even recording it now. I figure, like, you know, overclock, you know, whatever, it's fine. And I feel like, you know, overclock would probably provide a better DPS boost than Glue Storm anyways. Because, I mean, you know, Power Lord already does quite a fair amount of damage. I don't really think plus 2 is going to add a whole lot. Opposed to, like, I think overclock is like, what, like 50% attack speed increased. Anyways, I got MIB here because I don't think Pirate Lord's bombs can hit Black Balloons, so that was going to be a little bit of an issue come late game, because Pirate Lord's going to be our main DPS when it comes to DDTs. Spirit of the Forest is here really just for kind of cleanup, as well as, like, you know, cleaning up, like, you know, smaller mobs as well as kind of ceramics. Spirit of the Forest can handle, like, you know, regular BFBs and below. But once you get up to, like, you know, fortified BFBs and higher, is where Spirit of the Forest starts to struggle. Anyways, here is round 87 with 4 ZOMGs. This round was a tad bit scary because we don't actually have Power Lord's cooldown up immediately. Thankfully, we were able to take down the 2 ZOMGs on the right side pretty easily. And due to the kind of the sheer length of this map, we were able to hook in the second ZOMG, although it was a bit close. I was kind of worried that Power Lord was going to pop the ZOMG, but even if it did, it wouldn't really matter too much, just because I do think that Power Lord would have had enough DPS in the tank to kind of take care of it. And so now that we're starting to see ZOMGs in kind of, I guess, non-ZOMG centered rounds, was a bit worrying. Thankfully, Psy has reached the level at this point to where they can hit mobs. I don't think they can target BFBs yet. That comes a little bit later on. But even still, being able to target mobs and just kind of stall the rounds, that's honestly kind of one of Psy's strengths here. Being able to kind of stall the rounds is pretty nice. It's like an unintentional stall while they're damaging VFBs. You kind of like, can wait for your abilities to recharge, which kind of synergizes with themselves a little bit, as like, having the round be stalled, you're able to kind of stall for like, level 10, Psionic Scream, as well as like, their level 3 ability. So yeah, that's pretty much all from me. I have really nothing more to kind of say about this run. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, and join Discord. Link is down below in the description. Stay tuned for the next episode of Here's High Black Bordered, where we're tackling Geared by the last advanced map, although I'm not really sure if I'm going to finish that one before next update drops. Probably not, if I had to guess, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.